to curb youth unemployment in Nigeria. Of course, waiting patiently in the room are our moderator and panelists. They are here to explore the topic with us today. Once again, we want to warmly welcome all our participants joining us from all across the globe today. Thank you for joining us all the time when we have webinars such as this. Of course, the webinars are designed to educate and engage our teaming audience on agribusiness, on issues relating to agribusiness within the society. So going straight to the point, I'll be introducing our moderator for today's event. She's Dr. Tolulope Onodipe. Dr. Tolulope Onodipe is an independent consultant. She's a development economist as well. She conducts technical and policy research in agribusiness, as well as public financing for agriculture. Her recent research is on the role of politics in shaping public finance decisions in agriculture and its implications for reforms. She has years of practical experience in the agribusiness sector in Nigeria. Joining us from the United States of America this afternoon is Dr. Tolulope Onodipe. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Next, our panelist is Dr. Okpe Agbato. Dr. Agbato is the Director of Health and Technical Services of one of the foremost indigenous agribusiness companies in Nigeria, that's Animal Care Services Consult. They're a leading integrated livestock health and production company. He's an agribusiness enthusiast and an advocate for youth involvement in agribusiness. He has recently been inducted into the International Egg Commission's Young Egg Leader, the Yale program for year 2020. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Agbato.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next is Mrs. Bukola Awusoya. She's the group head for the agricultural finance in Sterling Bank. She has over 29 years banking experience to her credit, with focus on the agribusiness sector. Of course, she pioneered the agri finance department in Sterling Bank, and under her leadership as well, Sterling Bank held its first agricultural summit to create a platform for stakeholder engagement in the sector. She's passionate about and advocates for youth and women capacity development in agribusiness. Today, Mrs. Awosoya is absent due to exigency of office, and she's ably represented by Ms. Vera Ebohon. She's the Agribusiness Development Officer for Sterling Bank. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Ebohon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. Of course, last but not the least is Mr. Frederick Strauss. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Business Incubation Platform of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. He oversees and directs activities of the BIP unit, which of course includes the IITA Youth Agripreneur Scheme. He has over 3 decades experience working across the agribusiness value chains, of course, in various capacities. He's joining us from Netherlands today. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Strauss. Okay, I know he's, of course, with us. So, to all our, good afternoon.
I was on mute.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Thank you for joining us. So to all our participants, thank you once again for joining us. Please note that you can live stream this webinar on Facebook. Our Facebook handle is West Africa Agribusiness Show. So from now on, I would hand you over to Dr. Tolulope Onodipe. She's the moderator for today's session. Dr. Tolu, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Opeladipo. I just want to welcome everyone again to this webinar, where we'll be discussing agribusiness as a tool for curbing youth unemployment in Nigeria. Please join me in welcoming again our panelists today. And without further ado, we will go into the questions so we can have enough time to also engage with participants today. Welcome again, panelists. I will begin with general questions, and I think I suggest that we pick them. You decide on what you want to respond to. You can also respond to a question that another panelist has responded to. So the first question that I'll be asking you today is, As for us too, we know that the National Bureau of Statistics said the unemployment rate rose in the second quarter of 2020. We know this is happening all over the world. How do you view the current state of unemployment in Nigeria, especially among the youth? And what strategies should be deployed to bring this down? So, and also, you know, having at the back of our mind that we want to use agribusiness to leverage, you know, youth employment, to enhance youth employment in Nigeria. Over to you, panelists. Who would like to go first?
I have no problem to kick off. Okay. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Strauss.
Let me go a little bit closer because my microphone is not so good. Is it better now? The voice is better?
Yes.
Okay. Well, youth unemployment is already since a long time a big problem, especially in Western Africa. And agriculture is often not seen as a source to create a decent form of living and income. So what we have done, and that's not the only solution, I think there's more solutions, but I think it's very important to show young people that you can have a decent living and a decent income working in agriculture. So that means you have to look beyond the existing agriculture, which is largely based on subsistence farming. So you need to make sure that the inputs are right. It goes from the pesticides, fertilizers, the right type of seeds, that you apply good agriculture practices. So you need to train young people on it, and then you must make sure that there's an uptake of the product. Because if you don't have that, you can have tons of good seeds or tons of grains, but if nobody's buying that for a decent price from you, you're in the hands of the middleman, and who always make a good profit for you, but they're not always there to help you. There are exceptions in this, let's be clear. So you need to set up and come up with a system where you say, here are the inputs, here are the tools, the methods to produce, and here's the uptake. And that's what we have done through the BIP youth outgrower schemes. Even now, during the COVID crisis, we kept continue planting. At this moment, we are planting in Benue states. It's still too late, but we do it with irrigation. So we can still grow a good seed crop, about 300 hectares, which is part of 52,000 hectares of outgrowers. You just need to have the right system in place and make sure that young people can have a decent income. And with a decent income, I think I have to put a number. You have to look between $5,000 to $12,000 a year. If you earn that, you earn more than you earn in a bank. You can have a decent living. You can form a family. You can have kids, and you can dedicate yourself to this job. And it doesn't matter if you grow soybeans, maize, cassava. Important is you get the right yields. And I add two things and then I will stop. For example, average soybean yields in Nigeria is 1 ton. Below 2 tons, you cannot grow profitable soybeans. So we came up with a system that we now go to 2.5 tons with the existing varieties, and new varieties 3.5 tons. Maize, you need to go around 6 tons. If you sit below, you still keep subsistence farming. So then you can calculate the profit per hectare. Then you take that and you take to 5,000 to 12,000, and then you can calculate how many hectares you need to cultivate. And with that, you include it in a system with a clear uptake, with a fair price, and then you need to deliver. That means you need to deliver 6 tons. You need to deliver 2.5 tons. So that can then not be later, oh, sorry, sir, I did not fertilize. Oh, sorry, sir, I did not weed in time. Sorry. Oh, sorry, sir, I did not have time for this. Oh, sorry, sir, I had a wedding. No, then you really need to act as an agripreneur, an entrepreneur, and to deliver. That's a very, very, very difficult task, but it can be done. At the last one, cassava, instead of 12 tons per hectare, you need to go 20 tons in a can achieve this. So that means you need to be alert, motivated, and don't sit there and wait till the end of the month till you got your paycheck. But then there is a big future and some fortune to make in how you call it in agriculture, because population is growing. Africa is a net food importer, so and the land is available. So if you combine all those macro factors, I think it's possible. So that was my kickoff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strauss. Dr. Agbaton, would you like to respond to that question next?
Oh yes, Mr. Frederick, thank you for that. I like the sound I was hearing in the background. It sounded like Dale Chicks. You know, the sound of Dale Chicks is music to my ears because, I'm a poultry farmer, so we're in the livestock industry. But yeah, just like what he said, productivity has to improve. He was talking about yields from 2 tons to 6 tons, 6 tons, 1 ton to 3.5 tons. Productivity in agri has to improve to make it more attractive to the youth. Agri accounts for about 70% of employment, physical employment, and with regards to contribution to GDP, we're looking at 23 to 24%. Meanwhile, the services, you're looking at banking, ICT, finance, information communication, they're accounting for about 52% of GDP, but they are employing way less than half of what, less than a quarter of what farming is employing. So the youth are gravitating towards the more productive industries where they put in, minimal effort and get maximal results. Everybody wants to do that. So agri has to be more productive, more profitable for it to be attractive to the youth. Look, the youth population is just going to continue to grow. We're having childhood mortality rates is dropping, fertility rates are improving. The Nigerian population is growing. The youth account for a significant part of the Nigerian population. We're talking about a third of the population. The people aged 15 to 34. That's the general category of youth in Nigeria, and they account for a third of the whole population. So we're gonna have to find a way of taking them in, building their capacity and taking them into the workforce. There's lots of opportunity, and I say that because we still have a gap. Food is still being imported, or should I use the word smuggled, into Nigeria. So there's still a big gap. For example, chicken is still imported into Nigeria. Chicken is still smuggled. So again, that's taking away jobs. We have a local capacity of producing 500,000 tons a year, and we are consuming 1.5 billion tons. What is bridging the gap? That 1 million ton gap. Definitely, there's importation. There's making a way through our borders. Our borders are porous. Still, our borders, there's going to be opportunity for people to fill in, to feed more mouths. Farmers are going to have more mouths to feed. Again, there's so many opportunities. The milk industry, the cattle industry, the rice farming industry. Look at what happened with rice. We blocked the borders. Rice farmers couldn't meet the demand. The price of rice went up. I'm in Kano right now as we speak. I just visited a rice mill yesterday, and I saw what the man was about to do. 16 tons per hour, a very huge capacity rice mill, and it's going to be creating a lot of employment. He was able to do that because of the government, the policy that was able to protect local farmers. So there's lots of opportunities for rice, for chicken, for maize. We're talking about importing maize right now. Farmers are looking at that
with your Zoom details
as a way forward. Exactly. So those are the opportunities. There's lots of opportunities.
When did you register? When did you register?
More attractive.
When today, please?
And more productive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agbaton.
You can join us on
Mrs.
Facebook. It's live on Facebook too.
Yes. All right. Yes. Thank you very much.
West Africa Agribusiness Show.
Employment for a sector that employs over 60% before, which it has now dipped to about 35.1%.
Oh, you can't do Zoom.
Population.
The technical team is in the meeting room already, so they won't be able to.
Former glory or restore to its former glory. It needs to be financed, and productivity levels also needs to be increased, and that is why we have made agriculture as part of the heart of Sterling Bank. HEART being an acronym for health, education, agriculture, renewable energy, and transport. So we've decided to focus our resources, financial resources, human resources, to improving this sector. So for me, I think that's one way we can improve employment in the agricultural sector by enabling access to finance at a very affordable rate, especially to those at the bottom of the pyramid, the smallholder farmers, and also providing technical skills through partnership with training organizations like Animal Care here, IITA. You know, those are ways we can improve employment or increase employment in the economy, because I think we have about 13.9 million youths that are currently being unemployed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panelists. We will, I've noted some things, but we'll come back to those. I just wanted to go through the questions first. So the second question that I have for you, in view of the overwhelming number of unemployed youth across the country, what are the initiatives or policy measures that the federal or state governments should introduce to stimulate youth to venture into agribusiness? And I actually want to add a little bit of a twist to that, is what are those policies, what are those strategies that make agribusiness attractive to the youth? Because I think if agribusiness is attractive to them, you will see youth flocking into agribusiness. I know we don't have representatives of government here, but we would like you to weigh in on this question. Mrs. Ebohan, feel free to take this question first.
Thank you very much. Currently, the population of the farmers we have, like I mentioned before, the smallholder farmers, which are about 70% of the Nigerian agricultural population, they are currently either uneducated, old, and so we need a teeming youth population to fill this gap. And how do we do this? We have to be deliberate, we have to be intentional, right, about preaching the gospel that agriculture is not just a science, it is a business. We have to put together policies that make the business, you know, very, very sustainable, such that the challenges that bedevil the sector are being addressed. For example, access to finance. Yeah, Sterling Bank, financial institutions can't do it all alone. We need to partner with private organizations and even the government, the Central Bank of Nigeria. Yeah, I know the Central Bank have made several efforts in increasing finance to the sector through several finance packages like the AADS. AADS is Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme. It targets youths. Also through the Anchor Borrower Program, you know, where they have earmarked billions of naira to ease access to finance in the sector. So all these are some of the efforts. Also access to market, access to good infrastructure. So for example, I want to move, I'm a farmer in Jos, and I need to move my commodities to Lagos, where the market is enormous. You know, I can't move it because I have to grapple with infrastructural challenges from moving the commodities. And when I'm even able to do it, either through flight or something, it comes to Lagos very expensive. In fact, I don't even think I'm able to do it. What I do is that I sell to the middleman. I'm talking as a farmer now. I sell to the middleman who now takes my commodity, sells it at Lagos, you know, in those premium malls at a very premium price. So these are some of the issues: access to power, you know, access to inputs, quality input. This input needs to be subsidized. Government needs to partner with international research institutes to make sure that, okay, these inputs come to the farmers at very subsidized rates. And these farmers are able to plant these inputs and get significant yields from the harvest. So these are some of the measures I think the government can assist to create policies that favor productivity in the agricultural sectors, especially if we want to encourage the youths to come into the sector to play. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Aboha. I do want to ask for the other two panelists, Mr. Schroes and Dr. Agbato, as you respond to this question, I want you to think about the fact that, like Mrs. Aboha said, I don't think we have a shortage of what needs to be done. Like, what are those strategies now that we need government to actually put in place to move forward and to actually make agribusiness a business, like she said, and not just, you know, the subsistence farming, not the ideal of what everybody has thought about in the past.
Yeah,
Dr. Agbaton or Mr. Strauss, yeah.
good afternoon. Let me add on a very short point
Sure.
is that I think what government could do, and it will not cost them that much money, give young agripreneurs who wants to work in agriculture uh, favorable conditions for, let's say, for a 5 or 10 year lease. Land is available. Make sure that they at least can start on it, because most of the time young people cannot get, don't have collateral, cannot get a loan. You can organize inputs through an uptaker, at least that's what we do, that works out in most of the cases, but availability of land is something government can do. There is lots of land available. It's laying there, not used, and government can say, okay, you can get this for a 10-year or a 5-year lease at minimum cost. The only thing is you need to start using it as agricultural productive land. If not, we take it away from you. I think that would change a lot. And then do it not in small patches here and there. Try to do it in a cluster. So you can put various young people together so they can create synergy from each other. So you can have one truck delivering fertilizer. You can also make sure that the yields become aggregated and will be collected. So your efficiency will increase. People can support and help each other with mechanization. So there are various more examples, but give them as a resume. You can create synergy. But the first most important thing, and I repeat myself, is give land available. Don't give it away. Give it a long-term lease so the government still owns it. But at least the next 10 years, it gives some productivity. It keeps young people in the province or in the state, and it generates income. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Dr. Agbaton.
Okay, to add to that, I like the fact that it took a step back to land, because the basic thing in Nigeria, land ownership is actually a very, very big problem. There are issues with ownership and title transfer and, being settled on your land. But let me take you one more step backwards. Part of the 5 pillars for the National Youth Policy that was drafted this year was, I'll just read them out. One, a productive, a productive workforce for sustainable economic engagement of the youth. Two, health and health promotion lifestyle. Then three, participation, inclusiveness, and equitable opportunities for the youth. Four, promotive and protective environment for youth development. And five, partnership building and effective collaboration. At some point, we will talk about some of them. I'll get a chance to talk about some of them. But the fourth point is promoting a protective environment for youth development. Safety is key. And we're talking about land. Again, we're talking about the basics in Nigeria, the basics, the fundamental basics. I'm taking a step backwards. Security. I don't need to tell us what's on the headlines, things that are happening in the north. Land that, again, despite land is already hard enough to get, then you have land that is being used for farming. Inputs have been invested, resources have been invested. You see a lot of displaced farmers due to youth insecurity. Now, if my life is not secure, if I'm not safe, if I'm not protected, what's the point of making food? Is to live. So if I cannot live, and the basic things we require from the government, which is like protection, is not there. You go on the news in the north, different all over Nigeria. You are seeing farmers being displaced. Farmers can't harvest their crops. Farmers can't go back and do anything in isolation. I mean, what does it take? Do you need like a team of mobile policemen? Can everybody afford that? Do you have drones? Do you have CCTVs? Do you have, I mean, how do we have peaceful farming? So if that's not there, it's going to compromise everything else. So that needs to be there. And let's go back. Assuming we have peace and security, we're going to see a lot of more farms being used for farming, more land. The field that we have available being used for this type of productive farming. And also, we need to ensure that there's again, under the agricultural policy, they want to provide MSME loans. These are low interest for micro and small enterprise MSME loans for youth. And that's going to give cheap access to finance for these young entrepreneurs. Again, they're going to be entrepreneurs managing money. And in order to do that, You need to show capacity or being able to structure your business or being able to plan a business, keep records, and have a direction for your business. Then you can attract funding, that lower interest funding. But overall, we need to make agri more attractive to the youth or the youth. They need to change their perception of about agri from being like an occupation of last resort to being like a business, a go-to business with a profit potential, a business that you can scale up. So we have to package agri, make people understand it, make this youth understand what they are going into, because you can't control and scale up what you don't understand. So there's a lot of capacity building. Animal care is involved in capacity building. As a matter of fact, this morning I just got off a training, poultry management training. We do it again because of the pandemic. We started doing it remotely. I did it here from Kano. I did the poultry industry overview. So we need to do a lot of capacity building for farmers. Let them know what it is they are going into. Let them understand it. Let them rule it in or rule it out. So by the time they do that, they can deploy those funds, that the government has earmarked. There's a lot of funds earmarked for MSMEs for accessing finance. And there are also things like incubation centers that they want to deploy, and also agri extension services. They want to increase the ratio of extension workers to farmers, from 1 to 2,000 to like 1 to 1,000 to 1 to 750. That's one goal they have so that they can access them. But before this, there has to be safety. Again, we're going back. It's embarrassing that we're going back to the basics. There has to be safety on the land. I need to be able to go to my farm without the risk of being kidnapped, terrorized, all my investments being taken away. So that has to be there.
Thank you, Dr. Agbata. Yes, basic services are very, very important for any productive sector to thrive. So let's talk a little bit now about youth in agriculture, the youth that are already in agriculture. And we know that there are lots of challenges, not even just for youth, for those who have been in agriculture for even tons of years. So despite everything that is going on, like lack of working capital, insecurity that we have mentioned, inadequate access to inputs, poor infrastructure, just so many challenges. With the wealth of experience that we have here from our panelists, what are some of the things some of the solutions that you think that youth can actually do? Like, what are some of those things that they can do now to wade through, this challenges? I'm pretty sure that even those who have been in agriculture for years, who are also going through these challenges, need to know this. Like, what are those things that we can do whereby we're not just waiting in challenges? We're thinking of ways in which we can step out, thinking of ways of some things that innovation or things that can be done to actually overcome these challenges. Actionable, goals. Over to you, Mr. Strauss.
I was just thinking how to formulate this that you were earlier. Okay. Well, you can't do everything at once, so you need to start somewhere. And also it depends on the availability of money and how you use the money or inputs. So what I suggest would be very good, and I'm really speaking from the perspective of an institute like IITA, who develops new technologies, better genetics, better seeds, and good agriculture practices. And through the business incubation platform, we need to bring that into the market. So we have projects, and projects, they do a certain time and activity, and then they disappear. But we also have, through the business incubation platform, we have what you call outgrower activities. And I come back on this. And I have a plan with this, and we work towards this plan. So that links on your question. What are we doing? Where are the problems? I explained in the start that we set up an IIT business incubation platform outgrow model. These are really the selected, motivated youth who wanted to work in agriculture, not people who want just to have a stipend, but who think, what do I need to do according to planning? How can I make sure I have my weed under control? What is the best moment to fertilize? I have my scheme, What should I do when it's raining that much, or shall I wait a day? Or how do I make sure I do it in such a way that I probably can have the best uh, efficiency of it? Anyway, these activities we do, and what we do is we create role models with it. I'm not funded by a project, so I really need to generate income to stay alive, to even pay my own salary. So that means we need to produce the higher yields, like I said before. That means you need to have 20 hectares of soybeans and 6 hectares of maize. But then you can really grow in a way you earn $5,000 to $12,000 a year. That's done. Can be done. Demonstrated that. This year we go to a larger level, and my plan is to be within 3 years. So that links to your question, where thousands of those youth ITBIP, youth agripreneur in Nigeria, they all will have this income, and they all will act as role models. So I cannot take anybody from the street. So I had to put some requirements in there. People need to have a bachelor's degree, need to be motivated, need to have the right, I call it blood type, to become an entrepreneur, because some people don't have the genes to become an entrepreneur. They just like to execute orders. And as an entrepreneur, agripreneur, you really need to have the drive. I'm going to make more than the 6 tons. I'm going to get 6.8. I'm going to get 7 tons of maize. That's really, and I'll speak about Southwest. In the North, you can get more. So these are the activities where, and these people act as role model. Also, in line with that, I want to have 50% women in there, because a topic not addressed yet here is that agriculture is a very traditional sector, and women do quite some work in certain areas, but are not seen as farmers. So we really need to make sure that we create a group of women also, and as I said, I'm going towards 2,000 who will act as role model. Why 1,000? Why not more? Well, I can tell you, for those 1,000, I youth agripreneur from BIP, which I have, I need $18 million inputs. Where do I get it? So I have to start small. I'm going to start with 50, then I go to 400, then I go to 6 to 700, and then I go to 1,000. That's the steps where I do. And there, for that, I got investors who are willing to do it. They really watch it, because there is still money in Nigeria. Nigeria is not a real poor country. Per average capita, it's poor, but there's a lot of money in the country, and people like to invest, especially now government has implied this ban of importing products. So certain products now suddenly will have more demand in Nigeria. And I come back to soybeans. It was in the past cheaper to import soybeans because the yield of 1 ton per hectare, and if you allocate all the cost, is more expensive than importing it. So you need to go to a certain yield to make sure you can do it with a good efficiency and a profitability. Then you need to have a certain amount of hectareages, and then apply the good agriculture practices. By this, you create role models, and those role models will be copied by other people who are not that fortunate, who could go to a college and get a bachelor's degree, or were fortunate to be selected by the business incubation platform. Because farmers are not stupid. They will see that maize is wearing more kernels than mine. That soybean field is fuller than mine field. That cassava looks better than mine. They will check how you're doing that. How can I copy that? And that, I think that's where you have to start. So starting with role models who really can support themselves financially, and I give you the income numbers already, and that they can go on. So you need to create this system so that there is a supply of good agricultural inputs which have the right quality. So you also must make sure, and that's what we do also, that they get the right fertilizer, that they don't get some clay in it, that they get the right pesticide, not an inferior product diluted with water, because these things happen. Most of the farmers can't distinguish them quite often. So, and then you create mistrust, and then they go back to the old habits, to the old cultivation techniques. So really this role model in which young people, and I keep imposing on 50% should be females, you really can start make a change. But you have to start somewhere. And from there we'll go further. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Dr. Agbato.
Thank you very much. Again, the question is solutions to improve youth engagement, practical solutions, what we can do right now. I think a lot of youth, they need to, when we're talking about agribusiness, let me just look at it from a livestock. Well, it applies everywhere. You need capacity building, you need training, you need starting capital, you need working capital, and you need a market for your goods. So we need to do something to alleviate the fear from this youth of, okay, my fear of failing if I go into this venture. And how do we alleviate their fear? Again, we need to, first of all, what animal care as an institution, what we are doing is we're providing training. That's the first thing. Um, Teach them. They need to know what they are doing and what they are going into. The starting capital and the working capital. The training encompasses entrepreneurship training, technical hands-on training on how to start a poultry farm, layer farm or broiler farm, understanding the value chain, how to start ruminant farming, and also fishery. We provide training on that. Once you know how, you have modules on HR, modules on structuring your business, record keeping, and you're able to package yourself. Then you now have to sort out the starting capital and working capital. That's where friends and family help you raise money, or if you have some kind of track record, you can go to the banks. And you can get some starting capital, working capital. Or if you're lucky enough, the venture capitalist wants to sees potential in you. The chances of that is a bit low, but if you're able to get that, then the market aspect, we have something that we started last year, and we're helping farmers who don't have we want farmers to focus on farming, and because of our integration, our market network, and our potential, our nearness to the market. We said, you know what, let's focus on taking from farmers, let them focus on farming, we give them inputs, drugs, vaccines, feed, and we take off your output, in this case, eggs. We started the pilot with eggs in Open State, and we take off your eggs, we help you package it, process it, and we can collaborate. We are doing a lot of marketing, we're spending a lot of money on advertising, pushing the products. We have a sales force out there, we have logistics, we have trucks, pushing things closer to farmers. Why, for us to get that additional capacity, we would have had to build more farms and add to the, you know, um, add more, what's the word? Put more eggs into using the same human resources, scale up, put more eggs into the market, keep on competing with farmers out there. Like, look, you focus on farming, keep on farming. We will leverage on your farm eggs. You will leverage on our marketing network. You leverage on our logistics, on our advertisements. We can sacrifice some margins. We'll take your eggs. We'll have a situation whereby we can co-brand it. We'll take it, we'll brand it, package it, and we'll sell it as a strong brand in the market. So that way, if we want to expand, we don't need to build 5, 6 more pen houses. We'll just have a network of farmers all around. Again, this is still a very small fraction of our production capacity, very small, but it's gradually increasing because we are seeing potential. We bought over, we're almost at 100,000 crates. We started it in September last year. So it kind of slowed down during the pandemic because nobody knew what to expect. Like, people could not get to the farms, people didn't move. But we resumed fully back again. So we're helping youth to take off that fear of what is it I'm going through and fear of, can my goods sell? So again, if you're a farmer in Ogun State or Lagos, or you have the logistics to bring your eggs down to us, or you are near enough for us to go pick up the eggs from you, we have that we started since last year, way before the pandemic, and it's comforting to a lot of farmers. Some farmers don't need to worry; they don't need to think about pushing eggs to Lagos. They don't need to think about selling and everything. Some are even trying to use it to expand their businesses. So the youth, they have to think long term. Don't think about eating your cake now. Don't think about eating your cake in the next, you know, 1 year. If you can also, you need to think 5 years from now, 6 years from now. Start, and don't worry about cashing out in the first year. Start, have a track record. A track record is value. It's like it has a lot of value to the banks. As you are keeping that track record, understand what your problems are, understand what mistakes you're making, know what you need money for, and when you go back and you make a clear case, you scale up. Before you know it, it's you're going to be more profitable. You're going to understand the business better. It's going to be bread and butter. But don't worry about making cash the first 2, 3 years. It's a lot of time, but if you can survive it and just cover your costs, keep the track record going. It's an asset. It's valuable to the banks, venture capitalists, investors, anybody you talk to. You keep your records and they see a track record, they know that you're a serious person, one, and they know that there's potential. And you also need to understand your problem. So I think that can help. But in terms of training and market access, we're helping farmers. We're starting local, and we hope to scale up very soon and take it away, not just from the state, we want to take it to other areas. And we're moving to coming soon. A new area is we're going to launch a new area where we're doing this farmer networking.
Thank you, Dr. Agbato.
Yeah, thank you.
Mrs. Eboha.
All right, thank you. I'll take it a step backwards. I'll quote Akim Adesina, the president of AFDB. He says that Africa has 65% of all arable land left in the world to feed 9 billion people by 2050. What Africa does with agriculture is not only important for Africa, but it will shape the future of the world. Now, I know we have a lot of problems, but I like to look at the glass cup as half full rather than half empty. Let me give you a quick glance of the Nigerian agricultural sector. So we have a population of over 200 million people, the largest in Africa. Total land mass, we have about 98.2 million hectares. Cultivable land, we have about 71.2 million hectares. 23% of the arable land in Africa is in Nigeria. And the land under irrigation is less than 1%. That is a problem, but is also an opportunity. I will talk about it later. In Nigeria, we spend 25 billion naira daily on food. Currently, we contribute 26.1% to the GDP. We have favorable agricultural ecological loans. Now that is just a snapshot of the Nigerian agricultural sector. So for me to address some of these challenges, we have to see them as opportunities. For us as a bank, we have 3 core strategies, which is digitization, agility, and specialization. I'll speak on the 3, but I'll focus on specialization. So specialization, I mentioned the 5 focus sectors that the bank plays in. That's the heart of the bank. So what we have done is that we have built specialization in that sector. Now, for Agri-Finance in Sterling Bank, the desk is manned by professionals, people that have agricultural background. I have a background in agriculture. I studied animal science precisely. Why did we adopt the strategy? Because we know that agriculture is a science, and if you don't understand the science, right, you can't make a business out of it, and you can't even finance that business successfully. If we want to address some of the challenges in the sector that will make it favorable for the youth to play in, we have to also look at the strength, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats in this sector. Currently, the sector is enjoying favorable government policies. There's been ban of certain food items or commodities, inputs, like maize, for example, has been banned. Frozen foods, for example, has been banned, even though we know that people still find a way to bring these things into the country. The threats we have pests, diseases, climate change, and all those other things. And then the strength, other strengths, we have growing population, like Dr. Ope said, we're very, fertility rate is increasing, our population is increasing by the day, and all that. Then the weakness is also inconsistent government policies and lack of access to markets, lack of access to finance, lack of access to quality inputs. And so those are some of the SWOT analysis of the sector. Now, how do we solve some of these challenges? For us in the bank, like I said, from 2011, from when we started to now, we've actually financed the sector to the tune of about 53 billion naira. And we've been able to reach about 66,000 smallholder farmers. And because we understand that finance is actually very key to growing the agricultural sector. And what we do, we don't just, because some people, they think, or some of our farmers, they think that, okay, this loan, especially we had that experience during the Ankobora program, they think some of these loans, because it's from the central bank, it's from the government, they think is, a grant. They have to see loans, right, as loans, as what, for what it is. I give you, the bank gives you a loan, you pay back that loan. And also for you to also be able to access loans, you also have to have a bankable idea. The monies in the banks, what the bank do is actually financial intermediation. We collect money from the surplus and we give to the deficit. So we don't print money. We don't, the monies that we keep, all right, belongs to stakeholders, belongs to investors, belongs to everybody that has accounts, right, in Sterling Bank. So when we give out loans, we expect that these loans will be repaid. And also, before we actually avail loans to customers, we actually train them. So we have a strategy of training, finance, then management. So before we train the farmers need to also understand that there are good agricultural practices or global agricultural practices that you need to adopt, right, to make your yields or the output, very, very significant. So you can't just keep doing things a subsistence way, the way it has been done. We have to add a little bit of innovation, a little bit of technology. You have to get trained, visit research centers, training outfits, EDCs, IITA, research organizations, animal care, like we've mentioned before. You get yourself trained, you learn basic entrepreneurial skill, basic financial literacy skill. We actually also offer that as a bank. We have trained about 1,000 women on financial literacy skills, and we are not relenting. We're not stopping at that. We're going ahead, to partner with very notable organizations to actually train some of our youth, because we need to actually see agri as a business, and we need to see loans as loans and not just free money. Not for the youth to go and buy a car and start living flashy lives. I know, but we have to start one step at a time. We have to start small and grow. We have, for us in the bank, we have tried to address some of the critical challenges in the sector. For the access to market, we understand, in fact, according to statistics, 65% of what is being harvested is lost to post-harvest losses, because before these things get to the market, they deteriorate in the quality. Some of them even get lost, and some of them get spoiled, and some of them even perish. To address some of those challenges to access to market, what we do is that we always link farmers to anchors. We always link them to market. So before you even go into production, you say, okay, who am I producing for? Who am I producing for? Who will take this product from me? Because agri is demand driven. You don't just go and say, okay, let me go and lease a plot of land to farm. And after I have farmed, I'll now start looking for who to buy. No, you start from the front, you work your way backwards. Who am I going to produce for? Who is going to offtake from me? How many metric tons does it need? What is the standard? What is the quality? How do I plant the best species or breeds of whatever it is that I'm doing? How do I rear the best breeds of animals that will give me high growth rate, has good feed efficiency ratio, and weight conversion ratio? All those things, we have to think about those things before we go into the business of agriculture. And after you've established that, you sign a contract with the off-taker, right? Or you put yourself in clusters. It's better you do things, as a group, as a team, and you win together than just doing things individually. So you look at people that have like mind, have like passion. You work with them, form a cooperative group, identify an off-taker and say, okay, I want to plant on 5 hectares of maize. Will you be willing to off-take this thing from me? And if the off-taker says, yes, this is the standard I need you to get your maize seed from IITA and all that. I also need you to get aflatoxin, free aflasaves, aflatoxin free seeds and all that, and with that way, whatever it is you are planting, you have an off-taker, you have a ready market, right, for that product, and you're not sweating yourself on how to sell, or you're not selling at a shop floor. You're not selling below your cost price because you're in a hurry to sell and go back to farming, because that way farmers have done this consistently and they've remained in that cycle of poverty. And that's actually why agriculture has not really been attractive to the youths. They prefer to work in the bank, they prefer to work in the oil companies, green collar jobs that they make money, they live the kind of lifestyle they want to live. But if you can do agribusiness right, if you can do agribusiness right, like Akumi additional said, the sector will be worth $1 trillion by 2030. So if you want to be among the billionaires, among the millionaires, this is the sector you should play in. If you can do agribusiness right, get markets. When you get loan, come up with very simple but bankable business plans that the bank sees and say, okay, this is how much you need. This is the economies of production. This is the cost of production per hectare. This is the cost of production per livestock. Okay, if I want to raise a broiler, how much do I need? How much is the DOC, that's the DO chicks? How much is the feed? How much is the drops? How much vaccine do I need to give to this chicken? What are the interval? What are the time interval I need to vaccinate these birds? Who will take this birds from me, process it and go and sell at Kentucky Fried Chicken and all those other malls? So these are the things. If you come up with a nice business plan and the bank says that, okay, this business plan actually repay its loan, right? They will be willing to put money in that. They will be willing to put money in that business.
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am.
Hello? They will be willing to put money.
Hello, I can hear you.
They will be willing to put money in that business. So these are some of the ways that we can solve some of the challenges and also make agriculture, very, very attractive to the youths. The problems are there, yes, but people are making billions of naira daily from this sector. People are making trillions of naira daily from this sector. And instead of looking beyond the problems, you can find a way, because some of the times we are the ones that cause our problems ourselves. We give you loan, you use it to do something else. You don't pay back the loan, you get blacklisted by the bank, you don't have a good financial history, and you can't collect loan again to scale up your business. So those are some of the challenges. Those are some of the things we also need to do, right, to make ourselves productive, and also the sector productive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Eboha. Thank you so much, panelists. We are going to go into just a few specific questions, but before we go into that, I just want to summarize quickly, and just for you to have at the back of your mind as I ask you the specific questions, these points. So we've talked about capacity building. We've talked about access to finance for the youth, how to make agriculture attractive to them, and we've talked about solutions that can help us, forge forward to leverage the power of agriculture for economic development, for alleviating poverty and all that. I do want you, as you respond to these specific questions, and as part of what you do, even though we do have just about 10 or 15 minutes to do this, so that we can give enough time for our participants to also ask questions. I want you to think about scalable solutions. It's very encouraging to hear about some of the things that you are already being done. Dr. Agbato was talking about the training, was talking about market access. I also want you to think about how youth or the small scale farmers can get access to some of these things. How are we making sure that we're disseminating this information in such a way that we have, participation from a number of, like a large number of youth. I also want us to think about what the role, so we know what the role of government is in any economy. And we know the challenges that have always, the long-standing challenges that agriculture has had in Nigeria. We know the problems. Well, I know someone mentioned about some favorable policies now towards agriculture, but we still know that there's still so many, there's so many large constraints for agriculture as a productive sector, for the capacity that it has, for the potential it has to do, to lift many out of poverty, to contribute to the economy, to contribute to our GDP. So I want us to think about our own, like when you respond to this also, think about the solutions that you offer now. How how do we bring all of this together? Like how we making sure that we can, consider linkages, for example, like small medium enterprise linkages within agriculture, so that we are able to get to that state where we are scaling up these solutions and we're expanding the solutions and we're going beyond just, these challenges that we talk about all the time, so that we can have some concrete solutions that we're looking to. So I would go first to Mrs. Eboho. I think you've gone at length to tell us what the bank is doing. I know there's this perception also that the bank has not been friendly, commercial banks to agriculture. But if you can tell the youth, how do you think we're able to give that message to them, so to facilitate their involvement? How do we change that messaging? How do we get them on board? And what are the things that we really do to make sure that we effect change?
All right, thank you very much. I always like to go back to the 4 challenges I have highlighted that bedevils the agricultural sector, which is access to information, access to credit, not just credit, cheap finance, access to inputs, and access to markets. Now, in trying to get this message, in trying to preach our gospel, in trying to get people aware that agriculture is beyond the science and it's a business, we actually set up a Nigerian Farmers Radio, right? So in that radio channel, what we do is that at certain time of the day, I think about 1 o'clock, we broadcast several topical issues in the agricultural sector, avenues for financing, trends that are happening in the sector, current commodity prices, things that, the prices of commodities, so that farmers can take advantage of that and sell, at the current market price instead of short selling, even prevailing diseases in the sector. In that show, we actually bring industry experts to discuss, critical challenges and opportunities in that sector. Even technical skills. We have people coming, saying, okay, this is how you should plant. This is the spacing density per crop. This is when you should apply your fertilizer. You should use Afla Save when you have to. Very important things that just helps the farmer to do whatever is doing. Also, and not just beyond the crop farmers, also for the livestock farmers. In that show, we also direct them to some of our nearest branches where they can, go talk to an agribusiness officer, because beyond just having a head office in 20 Marina selling towers, we also have soldiers, footprint soldiers that are all over the regions in Nigeria. And these officers actually, going around spreading the gospel, of agribusiness and its profitability, its opportunity in these very rural areas. These officers are actually also in touch with the very rural farmers, with the grassroots. They're actually the touch points, for agribusiness. And also, so that's for information, accessing information. We have a farmers radio. I don't think any commercial bank has done that, but we have done that because, like I said before, agri is at the heart. Our heart actually beats, for agriculture. And that's why we've made it one of the heart beats of Sterling Bank. And also to address the issue of markets, also building an ecosystem where everybody, so from the smallholder farmers to from the input suppliers, from the input providers, to the farmers, to the smallholder farmers, to the processors, to the marketers and the distributors, right? We have tried to build an holistic solution, an ecosystem, right, where all these farmers are put together and all of them exchange value and they exchange services. That solution is called One Farm. So with that solution, what we're trying to address is all of these issues that I've mentioned before. So in that solution, when you need quality input, you just sign on to the platform. You sign on as who you are. If you are an input provider, if you are a tractor mechanization, for example, you have tractors that you want to lease, you are the farmer and you are into processing and you need bulk, produce from the farmers, whether it is livestock, whether it is poultry that you want to process, whether it is eggs, wherever you are, you list who you are on that platform, you register, and immediately you sign on. The platform matches you with, different, whatever it is you are looking looking for. And with that platform, you're able to get value. And also on that platform, if you don't have finance, right, you can get finance from that platform on that. That's on this one farm solution. So this is one way that we've been able to address, some of the challenges that are facing the youths in that sector. We also have product papers. For example, now we know that people have this notion. Actually, well, it's been true, but we have tried to make a difference. So like I said, some of our strategies are agility, digitization. So we have tried to digitize some of our products such that when you come to the bank, within 48 hours, you get your loan credited to your account without having to wait for months, because literally in agriculture, time is money, and you apply for a loan, probably you want to take advantage of the rainy season. You are there waiting. They are busy reviewing your credit is taking forever. They're telling you to bring your grandmother's, plot of land, bring this as collateral. What we have done, we try to digitize, the product papers that would, solve some of the credit needs, some of the finance
Mrs. Ebonha.
in the sector. So those are some of the things we're doing.
Yes, I'm sure we would have you'd have a chance to tell the participants more about this, and it will be very helpful also as we engage later on, to give them specific places where they can find more information. Thank you so much. Can I go to Dr. Agbaton next? Dr. Agbaton.
Hi. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vera. I think one of Sterling Bank's foot soldiers has actually come to meet us at Animal Care, and again talking about bringing all of these things together. They've actually, not to blow their horns, they've put their money where their mouth is. They've seen value, they've seen potential, and they're working. There's something in the pipeline. Many banks were hovering around what we were doing. Our model was still working regardless of bank funding, because we're still meeting a need, two of the needs of the farmers, training and market. But they were hovering around. Some of them actually gave a facility, but Sterling Bank is actually the first to actually key us into a program that they let me not even jump the gun, but yeah, they're actually acting, they're moving on that, and I'm excited about that. It's actually a coincidence that we're actually both on the same panel, Sterling and Animal Care, because it's actually a recent development. So yeah.
Dr. Bato, can you also just, as you touch on this briefly, on your remarks, to just tell any youth who might be listening what your motivation for going into agribusiness is,
Okay. Okay, I would remember to mention that. So again, coming together, this model that we have, coming together with the bank to say, look, we have solved half of this problem. She talked about information, credit, input, and market. We have solved information and market for the poultry farmer. Now credit and input. How do we do that? So we've actually come together and we've tried to put this into an actionable step for the farms to actually get their things met. So this will help increase their productivity because they've gone through us, and also guarantee a market. So there's that, and that's how we can actually put some of these things together. Again, youth generally, they need workspaces that have digitization, embracement of digitization. The service industry, banks, they're first movers, they're way ahead of us in all of this. But farms, agribusinesses, they're digitizing their aspects. Again, we digitized a lot of our processes. Many are still in the pipeline, and that engages youth. If I'm a youth and I'm working somewhere and I'm seeing them using technology, I will feel actually like I'm developing myself. I'll feel like I'm on the right track. But if I'm working somewhere and they're still using higher education book, they are putting everything in jotters, everything is still, even though yes, it's nice, but you still feel like I'm not developing myself here. This is actually, it's my day to day. I could be doing this, but I'm not doing this on the day to day. So even though I'm making money now, but after a while, if I keep doing this for 5 years, or and there's no digitization, they're not looking around to see what is going on, they may actually miss it. So my motivation to stay on here again is the fact that I've been able to get a lot of information, a lot of from being a member of the animal care family. I've been privileged. I'm well connected to the animal care business, well rooted. So I have an unusual, what's the word, an uncommon privilege to be there. I'm not even going to talk without mentioning that. But it's giving me the motivation for me is the information, the exposure, and I have a lot of exposure that I've not yet that I need to put into practice. So much things that I feel like I can incorporate into the day-to-day business. So that keeps me going. The fact that I can think think about something, test it out, and actually see it come alive. And animal care has been an environment for me to actually push some of these things out there. So it's motivating when you know that you can go somewhere that is using good practices where your voice can be heard. That has been a motivation for me, and also the fact that there's impact in what we are doing. um, the animal care employs over 1,700 people, of which over 50% of them are youth. So that keeps me going every day. The fact that what I do can uh, contribute towards job security for all of these people, right? Or what I can do can actually create more jobs for people, like what I and my team can do. So that keeps me going. That's very, very encouraging and motivating for me. And the fact that we're actually creating something of value to farmers, not just our inputs, our feed, our drugs, our vaccines, but the fact that we've actually gone to partner with farmers again. We're also buying inputs, buying farm products. Again, it's very motivating. I feel like when I go on the platform and speak, I'm saying something that the farmer wants to hear. And again, personally, to answer your question, that has been very, very motivating for me. And again, being able to come to this type of platforms and get my voice heard, again, is very motivating. I don't take this type of things for granted. So thank you. Over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agbato. Mr.
Thank you.
Schroes, in your capacity, what are the challenges? So with the youth agripreneur model, what are the challenges this model has posed since inception, and especially in the face of COVID-19? In addition to any of the remarks you want to add, could you please respond to this?
Okay, good afternoon once again. I think in relation with COVID-19, I will come up with some specific challenges. First, I'd like to
Can you please turn on the volume a little bit?
yes, it will go better now.
Yes, that's better.
If the, okay, as I said before, I will come up to it. This is in relation to the COVID-19 challenges. But first, I'd like to bring up one thing very, very important, and Sterling Bank tipped on it. I think that's collateral. Collateral, we talked earlier about land availability, of the role of government making sure that land will become available in long-term lease for young agripreneurs. That should be done with the condition that they, how you call it, cultivate productively agriculture on it. So that's an important point. The next step is creating, having access to financing in the gains of collateral. I do this generally with
Mr. Schroes, I'm sorry to cut in. Mr. Schroes, the participants can still not hear you. Maybe you can move a little bit closer to the mic.
Okay, so what I keep it, I want to keep short because certain things you might have heard. First is having land availability. We talked about it earlier. So government should make sure that it should become available with long-term lease. Can you hear me now better? Hello, can you hear me now better?
Not really. Maybe you need to move back a little bit so that
Yes.
to the edge of your computer, so that maybe that's where your microphone is.
Is it now better?
Okay, that's better.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is I will get a set with a headset anyway. Okay, so first one is the long-term lease. Like I said before, government should play an important role in this. The second point is access to capital, working capital. That's a very important point. Sterling Bank touched on this point in this discussion also. I was happy to hear that. There's the anchor borrowers program, but still it's not giving enough room for young people. So we generally try to make sure we get a piece of land through government, and then we find through an investor all the inputs. It would be nice that in future to create more impact that we could say, okay, 50% of the inputs will be paid by the investor, and the remaining 50% of a loan. So not a grant, of a loan will be added by Sterling Bank. In that way, we can increase the amount of people earning a decent income through agriculture. So that's one. Now, specifically to COVID-19, logistics is an issue. It means you have more cost. You cannot sit with 4 to 5 people in one pickup. So you need to make sure you have the right distances. You need to make sure that you have the right supplies, the right input at the right time, which is normally already a challenge. But due to COVID, it was even a bigger challenge because sometimes it was not there. And then working in the field. Sometimes you hire staff which is close to the field, and then you need to be very strict with your rules, regulations, and procedures. People keep working distances so that they're not all sitting next to each other. And even when it's a break time, say, listen, now we still have to keep the distance because we want to avoid infecting each other. So these were the main points we had to deal with COVID. But I think the general point is land availability, collateral, and access to capital. These are the main ones. Really, this is a tricky one. And then linking in the last point, image, awareness. I heard today also, yes, setting up a radio. We also set up IIT radio because we need to create awareness that agriculture is not always per definition a bad job, a low income job. You can make money, you can make a decent income with it, but many people are not aware.
Hello, Mr. Schroes.
So I think also, I don't like to speak, but I like my staff to speak because they speak for themselves. They are young, they have delivered on what I'm talking here, so they are much better examples. That's where we sit, that's the direction we go. But land, collateral, and input supply is important. And with the input supply, it's also important. It's not just buying the fertilizer. It's not just buying the pesticides and the seeds. It's also making sure that during the crop cycle, you can survive. You can buy food. And that's often forgotten. So if you don't pick that in the total program and say, okay, this is your basic allocation to have a minimum income during the crop cycle so you can stay alive, especially the first crop cycle, then not many people will be inclined to go to work in agriculture because you will suffer. So you must make sure you need to work hard, you need to work with your brains, but you should not suffer unrealistically. This is a very important point. So it's not just pay for the inputs and that's it. You also need to stay alive during that period. You need to eat, you need to sleep. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroes. Thank you, panelists. So we will quickly take, I do have some questions that I've noted down from our participants. Of course, we know access to capital is always a big topic when we talk about all these issues. But one of our participants is asking that if you could speak to agro SME clusters where youth can live and how this could be structured for private sector participants. Mr. Schroes, do you think you could share an insight about this quickly?
Well, you explain the question a little bit more in detail.
So the participant is talking about agro SME clusters, you know, where youth can live in. Like, do you have any recommendations and how this could be structured? I know this is probably in terms of knowledge of Nigeria, probably better for a native to answer, but maybe you can just use your experience where you were talking about clusters earlier, just to kind of tell us briefly how this can be structured, you know, like how can we
I got the question.
leverage these clusters? Yeah.
Okay, got the question. Well, I've done in the past similar activities in China, and China and Nigeria are in certain way facing the same problem. A lot of farmers, small scale, and often illiterate, so and not enough capital to invest. So they sit in a vicious circle. They cannot go out. So one way to come out is to, and I come back to the land, make land available, create clusters. So I'm working now with an investor That investor, we're working towards a plan of having 30,000 hectares, and which 5,000 hectares on top of it will be used for construction. So in those areas, new houses will be built, basic housing, and then land will be assigned for agriculture production. In the construction area also, how you called it, processing facilities and warehousing will be built. So in that direction we are thinking. And I hope to launch by the end of this year a good example of this. So we're working towards this. And I can't tell you exactly which state because the investor wants to do this. But yes, we need to have capital. We need to have an investor, a risk investor, and who wants to do this. So you need to have proper housing. You need to have enough land so that people have enough hectarage to gain their decent income. But that's the only way it can work. You need to create clusters. And that's another way to make sure that young people are attracted to stay in the countryside. So one clear thing you need to have is access to internet. If there's no access to internet, you don't get young people. I can tell you that.
That's right.
They will not come.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schroes. I will go to Dr. Agbato before we come to Mrs. Ebonha, who has most of the questions. Dr. Agbato, someone is asking if you can weigh in on predictions of the ease of breaking even. We know the challenge of production with the high cost of day-old chicks, with the high cost of feed, with the high cost of medication. We know currently that the price of feed is just skyrocketing. How does a farmer break even? And where they're also asking if you have insights on where quality inputs at competitive prices can be sourced.
Okay. So quality inputs, let me start from that one at competitive prices. We when you come for training now, because of again another effect of this pandemic is that our trainings don't have to be physical, doesn't have to be in person. Now we're having them even more frequently. Now every month we're having training. Just follow us on any social media platform, Animal Care NIG. You can get more information, or I can share my information and we can talk. But by the time you come for training, it helps you in selecting for the right inputs. I'm not going to tell you what brand or anything like that. I'm not going to tell you to take my brand. I'm not going to tell you to take another person's brand. But we'll teach you neutrally on how to select inputs, how to do quality checks, how to choose the right DO chicks, how to your screening parameters for the point of lay your DO chicks, your feed, potency tests for vaccines, things that you can collaborate with laboratories to do. Some you can do by yourself, some you can just get the knowledge and get it done. So we can help you with that. And again, it's a training. It's something that information will make the difference. Then with the outlook for the farming business, I think the farming business again, tough times don't last. Tough people last. We have to weather this. I know that it's going to get better. While this is the highest, one of the highest times I've ever seen the price of eggs, but the sad news is that it's also the highest time of feed. So it has eroded all the possible profits that farms could get for some farms. Believe it or not, some farmers have looked at how they could even possibly scale further down. They've used the whole working from home as an excuse. Well, you can't farm from home. That's not possible, right? But they've tried to reduce their working space, like the amount of people that come to work. Some have tried to reduce their costs. But again, you have to look inwards, look at your books, look at what your cost drivers are, see how you can reduce your any type of overhead costs to almost the bare minimum. Again, it's only for a period because once things, again, it's going to be for a long period actually. The outlook is looking like the harvest outlook for grains, crops, is not looking very, very interesting. So one has to be very creative. We talk about clusters. One thing clusters does for you is that there's also economics of scale. If I wanted to buy inputs, for example, I wanted to buy feed, there's price that I'm buying for a small farmer with 250 chickens. It's based on the volume of feed the chicken eats. So the more volume you are taking, again, it's graded up. By the time your cluster comes as one person, right? Ordinarily, maybe you have 120,000 birds in that cluster, but your own farm in that cluster is 3,000 birds. If you go to the distributor and you want to buy feed, the rate they're going to sell to you is different from if all of you came together, you've had your agreement. I can't tell you how to agree. I can't tell you. I think Frederick has already shed some light on how to start up a cluster, but there has to be agreement, there has to be trust. You have to understand their model, and if you guys can now agree and come together under one name, we are this cluster, we want to buy feed. They'll sell the feed to you at the price they're selling to a farm with 120,000 birds. So your costs can drop and you all will benefit from that cost saving. So that's the benefit from working in groups, working in clusters. But again, the outlook with the current way things are going, as far as the price of feed, unless government does something in terms of reducing the strategic reserves of grains into the market, or more farmers are more comfortable to farm and put out their put more maize to join to the harvest. It's not going to be it's not looking too pretty, but people are still profitable. Again, there are different strategies to try to be profitable. You can still be profitable. Again, value addition for a lot of people has helped them make the difference between profit and loss. Chemical cost reduction has done that. They've removed a lot of unnecessary overhead costs. But you have to know what you are doing, so you don't compromise quality and also the health of the birds. So yeah.
Thank you very much,
Over.
Dr. Thank you very much, Dr. Alberto. Mrs. Aboha, I see that you're already responding to a number of the questions, but I just wanted you to, for the participants, because we just have about four or five more minutes before the end of the webinar, so I can hand it over to Mrs. Okwe Ladipo. I want you to maybe touch quickly on this government programs. You know, those government programs, every time we come to a webinar or to a conference or to anything, we talk about it. But there's so many programs available, but you don't see you don't see that the large number of small farmers or youth having enough access to these programs. Can you please speak to what you are particularly doing in Sterling Bank and how you're making this available to a wide range of farmers?
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For us, you didn't ask me what motivates us in Sterling Bank, so let me just say quickly. What motivates us in Sterling Bank is that feeding the nation is everyone's responsibility. And actually, this has been the mantra that has been guiding our actions, right, in the sector. So with that, we have been able to put together some products, both from CBN intervention, from Central Bank of Nigeria, funded products, to commercially funded products, also to products that we co-created with development finance organizations and also donor agencies. I'll quickly touch on a few of these products, and I'll touch on the ones that pertains to the women, the youths, and also the SMEs. So quickly, we have the Sterling Women and Youth in Agricultural Finance Program. Actually, this is a program that we co-created in 2020. Yeah, it's a very recent program. We have about 12 billion naira set aside, right, to finance youths and women in the sector. Men are also included, but the financing ratio or the gender parity we want to achieve is 70 to 30. So 70% women, 30% men. Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, we have about 70% of the women in agricultural workforce, as also Mr. Frederick said before. Under this program, cooperatives, that's farmers in cooperative groups, can get as much as 25 million naira. SMEs can get as much as 20 million. The fund is a single-digit interest rate of 9%. We have moratorium, that's a grace period before you start repaying your principal and interest. Retail businesses can get as much as 5 million naira. And anchor companies, right? Large organizations or anchors that want to farm on a very contiguous hectare of land can get as much as 250 million. What is the goal for this program? What is the goal for this product? We actually want to rev up youth employment. We want to create employment. We're actually looking at as much as 1 million youth beneficiaries, right? That would get youth and women beneficiaries that would get this product. We also want to want to reduce unemployment. We want to create access to finance. We also want to reduce the gender inequality gap. So those are some of the goals that we want to achieve with this product. We also have the Sabex platform. That one is actually focused towards SMEs. It's actually a solution, not like a product per se. On that platform, you can enroll, sell your commodities on that platform. And as you're selling your commodities, as the as the platform is matching you to a buyer, you can quickly get finance from that platform, right? So, sort of like, okay, when you post your commodity, say you have about 5 tons of maize, you post it onto the platform. While you're looking for a buyer, you can quickly apply for a finance. So the platform issues you an e-receipt. So with that e-receipt, the bank finances you on that e-receipt. With that money, you can quickly go back, right? And that e-receipt is about 70% of the value of your commodity that you've posted on the platform. So with that money, you can quickly go back to farming until you are able to sell that commodity, right? And you then repay the loan. We also have several products. We have the product the one we did, we're in collaboration with Nestle. You can get as much as 2 billion naira. We have the fertilizer product program. You can get as much as 500 million naira. Anchor Borrower program, like we've been talking about. You can get as much as 10 million naira. We have MSME funds, micro, small, and medium enterprises funds. You can get as much as 15 million naira. Sterling tractor acquisition scheme. You can get as much as 15 million naira. The AXMIS, the Sterling Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprises, that is actually now being handled by Nestle Microfinance Bank. But youths can get as much as 10 million naira to scale up their businesses. We have broiler finance product paper. You can get as much as 10 million naira. So we have several products at both commercially priced, single digits rates, intervention funds rate 5%. So we have different products that caters to different needs of the farmer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Aboha. Yeah, I do see a lot of opportunities, and just before I round up and hand over to Mrs. Ladipo, what I do want to say is that we see WAS as bringing as a platform to help to bridge gaps that may be there, information gaps, and we would really welcome being able to have more access to all of this information so that we can also help to disseminate it to small farmers, to youth. That way we're able to get that information to their hands, because I think that has also been one of the key challenges, is that people don't know what's available. They don't know how to access it. I mean, we have the issue there also that we have to make sure that they're able to access these funds. But at least when we get this information out there, we're doing much more. I just want to thank you, all of our panelists, Mr. Strauss, Dr. Agbato, Mrs. Ebonha. Thank you so much. This has been a rich discussion. I will hand it over now to Mrs. Opeladipo for closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onodipe. Sincere appreciation goes out to you for this expertly moderated session. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all our participants, and of course to our team of experts, Mr. Strauss, Mr. Bonho, Dr. Agbato. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for making our time to be here with us today. And Mr. Bonho, please extend our request. I miss her, but of course, we're glad to have you with us. Once again, to all our participants, thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar session. Of course, the West Africa Agribusiness Show, like Dr. Onodipe mentioned, is a platform for agribusiness stakeholders where we can converge to develop and share ideas that, of course, will further promote the agribusiness sector across the region and in the globe entirely. So in absence, and of course, due to COVID, we all know that large gatherings are prohibited for now. So we are unable to have some the exhibitions present at the moment, but of course we are working on that. We are hopeful that as events unfold, that we'll be able to come together as one, and then we can do our physical meetings. But of course, in absence of that, we have structured webinars and personality interviews to explore issues that are germane to the growth and development of the agribusiness sector. And of course, that is what we need at this moment. For September, we have two webinars outlined already. The first to be the first week of September. We'll be speaking with the director, the statistician general, Dr. Yemi Kale of National Bureau of Statistics. Our theme is role. We want to know the data, how data can help to reposition agribusiness for economic growth and development. Of course, we know part of what we use today is the data from the National Bureau of Statistics on the unemployment rate in Nigeria. That is what has guided our theme for today's event. Then later on in September, we'll be looking at agribusiness partnerships between the public and private sector for enhanced food production and economic development. Every of our activities is targeted at food production, increasing the productivity levels, and of course, ultimately economic development. We all know that agribusiness is a main contributor to the national GDP and also the highest employer of labor. So it is a sector we cannot afford to neglect. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your support always. Please, let's continue to stay safe. Let's continue to maintain the government guidelines as regards the coronavirus. Thank you so much, and we wish to see you in September. Thank you.
Thank you.